I'm just going to start recording. And
Okay.
so I just want to clarify in terms of date, July 18th, 2025, my full name, Lisa Noel Volding. And Riley, do you want to state your name and any
My name
other
is
names?
William. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. My name is William Sasha Reilly. I was born Manuel Sasha Barros,
Okay.
but my legal name is William Sasha Reilly at this time.
Okay. And I'm just so we're clear, I'm based in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. I lived in the United States full time for a bunch of years, but I was brought up in Canada. My citizenship's
Well,
Canadian, and
we might be neighbors at some point because Canada is right now #2 on the list of the countries that I am potentially going to move to.
do you know? I think it's a good place to look. There's a lot of Americans actually. I've spoken to Americans that I've told to come here, and there's lots of Americans that have come to visit more, and it's a lot more embracing, inclusive of a culture. So, you know, it's quite lovely. I
Yeah.
recommend. In terms of what my approach, really, what I wanted to do is like to just really like a thorough discussion. You tell me everything that you've been wanting to say, and
Okay.
I'll ask some questions. This might be one of like however many discussions, and I'll record them. If it's one, if it's 10, and what I'd like to do, I'm sort of recording with an eye to your testimony, getting your testimony of what you
Okay.
experienced, what abuse you suffered, and what you were witness to. And an eye in terms of being able to get into a format in terms of affidavits, whether we look at getting help from the International Criminal Court, because obviously what, you and I have discussed already, there's definitely a whole whack of crimes that have been getting committed by a lot of folks, and is even a case where there could be crimes against humanity charges in regards to Trump.
Okay.
So, and what else I'd like to do is I'd like to look at whether you would be okay with me like transcribing and then publishing something. I publish newsletters selectively. I have a newsletter called Outlaws of Chivalry I publish once in a while. And I was looking at perhaps publishing there if you're okay in terms of how it could help us in terms of getting the right legal support in terms of the International War Court.
I am for whatever puts a light on this because in my mind, the powers that be are already aware of my position on it and aware that I have spoken up. And,
Yeah.
The more light that is shed on there, I don't think that I'm incurring more risk, except for some maybe lunatic that wants to be a soldier for Donald Trump because they are a little crazy. They're a little brainwashed, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't mind whatever would bring a little bit more light to this, particularly the stuff. If we can get some of this stuff verified, and I know that me speaking up is one thing, but then the verification process,
Yeah.
is important too. And I have read about software where, facial recognition software that taps into the banks of known cataloged child pornography. So if the films that they had me make can be verified, it's not something that I can go online, but I am confident that it's there because somebody that I served with in the Army got put out of the Army for child pornography, and my chain of command talked to me and they said, hey, some of these images, some of the films or whatever that he had looked just like you. And that was the first time I think I had ever talked to anybody about having done those films. And I told them, yes, when I was a child, I had to do those things.
Yeah.
So
Let's talk a little bit
I'm
more about that circumstance. Like, so you were in
Okay.
the Army. What years were you in the Army then?
This would have been my second time in the Army. I rejoined in, 2002.
Yeah.
And I retired in 2016. I was in from 91 to 98 as well. So I did a little over 21 years. But the time frame that they pulled me into the office and discussed that would have been around 2008, 2009 time frame. It was obviously it was in garrison, so it was between deployments.
Yeah.
So around that time is when they talked to me, and yeah, I can just remember. I can remember telling them that I knew it was out there. There was nothing I could do about it, and thinking that there was really no way to go about, anything at that point. I didn't know what I could do about it, if anything.
Yeah. So it was from when our emails, it was one of the fellow soldiers that was caught with a bunch of child pornography, and then your commanding officer pulled you into the office to go through and said they'd seen you in the films.
I did not look at any of the films. All they said was, hey, we had to look at some of this stuff, and one of those people looks just like you. And that's the first time that I had, I think, ever really spoken about it. And I said, yes, those are probably me. But I did not personally see them. But they described something that I knew that I had been a part of.
Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Here's what it
more?
was.
Yeah.
They pulled me in, I can remember First Sergeant Bayless was kind of red-faced, and he said, have you ever made a movie with a black girl? And that obviously was, I'm not a movie star, so obviously that's a very odd question, and I knew exactly what he was talking about when he said that.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, yes. So he said, okay, well, we have found some images that are of a sexually explicit nature on another soldier's computer, I think, and they look like you. And I said, well, they are me. So he said, and you look underage. I think from that was part of their investigation to confirm that the images of the participants in these films were underage.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was just a secondary verification that, I was only 12 or 13 at the time of that film, maybe even 11. So, obviously I'm not an adult. And even when I was an adult at 18 or 19, I still looked young. So obviously at 11, 12, whatever I was in that film, I would not have looked like a mature, an adult,
Mm-hmm.
So it was more, I think, for confirmation that these images were of children. So I don't remember if he actually got court-martialed or if he just got UCMJ, which is just their lower grade of punishment. But I do know that he was chaptered out of the military over it. I think he might have had to do a little jail time, but I don't recall. I can't even recall the soldier's name that got caught with it. I just knew he was an NCO, a staff sergeant.
And did anyone else ever talk to you about the films again? Did they ever talk? Did they ever infer that there was any further investigation in terms to when the films were produced? Did they ask you anything about who is involved, or did they?
No. They didn't go into any legality other than the prosecution of the soldier with the images. So in the military is a little bit different than civilian. I don't want to call it the court system because it's just the officers and NCOs in the military, but they have their sphere of influence. They have their little scope of operation, and if they uncover more, I think that they're required to give it to the civilian authorities, but they don't have any jurisdiction to go further than to just prosecute the soldier for the infraction that he is guilty of, if that makes sense the way I'm saying it.
No, I understand. Do they have any duty or is there any legality, or do they have legal requirements to